was already about a 10-15 minute wait.
Mm-hmm.
Wound up being twice as long because of all the people from Britain and Virgin Airways that had guest express passes.
Richard Branson was there with a naked model on his back.
Yeah. And they all just were going through the express line, so that was making our 15-minute wait twice as long.
Yeah.
So anyways, we finally got on that. Jimmy loved it. As soon as we got off that, it was packed. So we started walking around. We went on to Spider-Man. They're not really into any of the other rides at Islands of Adventure. So we went on to Spider-Man. They loved it. I told them they would. They were still a little nervous, but they loved it. And I actually just found out from the Orlando Sentinel today that they are going to be redoing, well, first of all, Despicable Me is going to be replacing Jimmy Neutron, which Zach had told me that a week or two ago. But they're also going to be completely making over. They're not going to be really changing anything as far as the movie goes, but they're going to be completely making over Spider-Man in high def, and they're going to have better 3D glasses.
I think that's probably been like the number one complaint about Spider-Man.
That's the first thing Jimmy said. As soon as he got on it, he's like, geez, this is pretty, well, because, he's 12. He's the HD generation.
Right.
So, he's looking at it. It's like us watching black and white.
And I don't know if it's going to be similar to the 3D technology that's used for Star Tours, but I know that those glasses are a little bit more heavy duty than what you'd find at like PhilharMagic or your other 3D shows that you see. So
I'm guessing they would be.
Yeah, I think it's just the next step up. That it's just that much better quality for 3D. So that's something to look forward to. Okay,
my trip report. Shut up. So after Spider-Man, Jimmy wanted to see Dr. Seuss Land. So we walked around there a little bit, went on Cat in the Hat. It was a cool ride, but it was, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say deteriorated, but it wasn't really up to a major theme park's attraction as far as...
Were things like not working in it?
No, things were working, but some of the... I don't know if you call them animatronics.
Yeah, they are.
But some of the animatronics were not as solid as you'd expect them to be. They just seemed a little on the cheap side for a place like Universal.
I mean, what I'd say though, did you think it is like it's done better or worse than like Winnie the Pooh?
That's what I was just about to say. It reminds me of a Cat in the Hat version of the Winnie the Pooh ride, but I think the animatronics in Winnie the Pooh are much cleaner.
I think there's more motion in the ones in Cat in the Hat, but I understand what you're saying, that it almost looks like there's more motion in the ones in Cat in the Hat, but it's not. They're not like fluid motion. It's not like you're going to see Pirates of the Caribbean type motion or.
It's something you'd expect. Like if somebody had a high-end carnival, you'd expect this ride there.
What I think is, if you've ever been to Hershey, Pennsylvania, at Hershey Park, where they have like the chocolate tour, it's about that level of animatronic. For me personally, I think that I went on that ride, I don't know, a few months ago, maybe when we were on the fanboy trip, I went after you guys had left, and I hadn't been on in a few years, and I was pleasantly surprised. It was better than I had remembered it, and I thought that it compared pretty favorably to the Fantasyland dark rides, and I'd say that I like it better than Winnie the Pooh.
If I had to choose, I probably would choose the Cat in the Hat slightly over Winnie the Pooh.
I think it's just a little bit longer, maybe a little bit more to it. So even though, I mean, you're not going to find great animatronics in these, because these aren't like the attractions that are going to draw you to the park.
Right.
But as a decent dark ride, I mean, I think I like it a little bit better than Winnie the Pooh.
Well, I'd never been on it, so at Jimmy's insistence, we went on it, and we all enjoyed it. After that, I
almost puked in that ride once.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You must have already been sick.
Well, yeah, that's basically what it was. let's go on the most tame thing in the park, the Cat in the Hat, and then they'd since changed it where it used to spin a little bit more. So we were already on the verge. This is my brother-in-law and I already on the verge of throwing up after a couple rides on on the Dueling Dragons, and we would have been the first people to throw up on the Cat in the Hat.
Speaking of throwing up, well, I didn't throw up at Emerald's, but we went and had lunch at Emerald's.
That would have been a glowing recommendation.
Yeah. It was good. It was decent. compared to prices you pay at Disney and Universal, it was right on the level. It wasn't overpriced as you'd think, an Emerald's type restaurant would be.
That's in their City Walk area, right?
Yes. Yep. And after that, we went over to Universal. And the reason I mentioned throw up is because as soon as we were done eating, I went on Rip Ride Rocket. And I've never been on it before. Now, I think I like Universal better because when I used to live in California, I used to go to Universal Studios out there all the time, and that's the only park they have over there. So I tend to be a little bit more of a fan of Universal, but I still like Islands of Adventure. Anyways, as soon as we got there, we went on Shrek 4D. Right from there, I went on Rip Ride Rocket. Never been on it before, but as soon as we walked into the whole area, before we even went into a park, I saw that ride, and I'm thinking that's going to be intense. And the day before, when I got the tickets, Zach was pointing it out to me, saying that even though it's the width of the park and not the length, it still covers the whole side of the park.
Yeah, it's pretty big footprint that it carries.
Yeah. Anyways, I went on it, and I just thought it was so intense how you're going straight up.
Yeah.
It was very cool how you can, of course, choose your own music. And I know it's an oldies for you, but Casey and the Sunshine Band took me around Rip Ride Rocket. And
there you go.
It was just unbelievable. And, I got banged up a little bit, but I was fine when I got off. And it was just...
There was a nightclub bouncer sitting next to you that was just punching you the entire ride.
Yeah, but that's definitely one of my top 5.
I had a question for you about that, Brett. I think when I went on it the last time, the song that I wound up choosing was Evanescence song, and it just cut out at the end. Did the same thing happen for you for whatever song you chose?
Yeah,
Casey and the Sunshine.
Yeah, because
that's probably my biggest complaint about that ride. They didn't cut the music at the end properly. It doesn't even fade out. It just stops.
Yeah, it irked me a little bit, but I realized that there's only so much they can do.
Yeah.
Now, what was the Evanescence song?
Was it Bring Me to Life? Yeah.
Bring Me to Life? Okay. If I had known that, I probably would have picked that one. But
I went into the rock, and I was like, I didn't really like the choices here. I guess we'll just go with this. So.
Well, I didn't know when it was going to stop allowing me to choose what music.
It doesn't give you a lot of time.
So that's why I went right to whatever category that was that I went to, and normally I'm the type of person that's going to check every single category and then go back to whichever one I initially saw that I liked. But in this case, the first category I picked, I love Casey and the Sunshine Band, so I just picked that song.
There are some hidden songs in there as well, and I knew how to. The first time I went on it, I was able to look it up, and what I remember is I went on with my brother. I didn't know how much time I'd have either, and I was trying to get. There's a song from the Muppets that I was trying to get on his, and by the time I figured out how to get it on his, it had already expired. So I just wound up with some random disco song. I felt like I was at a club when I was going through it the first time. But
you want to rock out to Rip Ride Rocket with a Muppets tune?
Yeah, I thought it'd be funny. I figured he'd get a kick out of it.
So anyways, we got off that and walked around the park. I went on the Mummy ride. I went on that once before, and for some reason I thought I didn't like it, but I must have completely forgot what the ride was about because this time I went on and it was just intense. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I really liked that ride as well.
Went on Jaws. Jimmy loved that. He's been dying to go on the Jaws ride for the longest time. Because we didn't go on that last time. We went on that. I got to try the new Simpsons ride. Now, I liked it as Back to the Future. It's to me it's along the lines of Soarin'. It's different because you're sitting down in a car and it's bouncing all over the place. But as far as the big movie screen and you move with the screen, I did like the Back to the Future ride. I knew that doing it with the Simpsons was going to be great. The ride itself, it wasn't as much better as the Simpsons as I thought it would be. It still was, but because it was still very similar to the Back to the Future with just a whole new layout that you're seeing, it didn't impress me as much as I thought it would be. But what really did impress me was the design of the ride on the outside and going through the queue and in the waiting area, because they made it so Simpson-esque.
I think the queue was phenomenal there.
Yeah, it was
absolutely great.
I actually think I like the queue a little bit better than the ride. I did like the ride, but I did like the queue better. And then Jimmy loved the Quickie Mart. We went in the Quickie Mart after, and he thought that was fantastic.
Yep. Did you get a Flaming Mo?
No.
It's like they have Flaming Mo energy drinks.
Do they really?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're going to be going next year, and I'll definitely get one of those. Yeah, so we walked around a little bit more. Tons and tons of pictures. We probably took thousands of pictures. We timed it so that...
I bet Ashley could rival you on that one. Just saying.
We timed it so that we would finish up at Universal around 5. And once the park was open until 7, we figured we'd go back over to Harry Potter Land, which we did. And by the time we got there, it was like it was when we first got there in the morning. There was hardly anybody there. It was fantastic, just like we planned, but it was a crapshoot. Annalise and Jimmy wanted to do some shopping, so they went in the shops, the joke shop and the candy shop. And I went
to the candy shop.
Yep. I went back on the ride, and even as a single rider, I thought I was going to be able to go through the queue, and I didn't. So I went on the ride and then jumped right back on and told the guy, even as a single rider, I'm going to go through the queue. The entire queue was empty, all the way up to the talking hat, the sorting hat.
Yep.
I think I spent about a half hour going through the queue and just taking my time watching the two different, the ones in the classroom and the one with Dumbledore in completion, and just took tons and tons of pictures. Went through again, and then I turned around and jumped on one more time through the single rider line. So after that, we actually went through the Ollivander Wand shop.
How long was the wait for that?
The wait was maybe about 20 minutes.
That's not bad at all.
A little bit, that's what we figured. It was the longest wait we had on anything in our trip, but we figured that this is what's getting huge raves at this part of the park, so we definitely have to do it. The only thing that I wasn't too crazy about is when I was told what that attraction would be like, I actually thought a wand would be choosing pretty much everybody. No. And it's one guest that's selected, so to speak.
Right.
Now that's fine, but when we went on, the guest that was selected was probably 30. And
yeah, I think that's the same thing with us.
Yeah, and to me, I'm
older
thinking,
person.
Yeah, and again, she was like, like a typical shy older person would be. She's blushing and shooing her foot and he. I just thought it would have been so much better if they had picked a younger person from the audience.
Yeah.
The target audience of Harry Potter would have been so much better. And there were kids there, but this lady got picked, and that's fine. It's great for her. But even then, I can only imagine if a super Harry Potter fan got picked that was, say, 11 years old. Mm-hmm. They would have been going nuts. They would have been so giddy they probably would have peed their pants. And I couldn't help but think that as this older person was there and didn't seem as into it as almost guaranteed 11-year-old super Harry Potter fan would have been, or even just a regular Harry Potter fan would have been so into the whole thing because they would have known probably more about everything going on. And they could probably quote any part of the book verbatim.
I wonder if they will pick someone if they're wearing the robes or a shirt that's related to Harry Potter, if they're more to do something.
It might, but this one here was just wearing a regular, I think it was like a soccer shirt or something. Okay. It was really very big. That's the thing is, there was nothing about this person that really stood out for me to say, oh, that's why this person got picked. Yeah. So the fact that they were younger kids in the audience, that right there should have been incentive enough to pick any one of those younger kids.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, but nobody asked me, so I just kept it to myself.
What they didn't know is that you have a forum to complain about this.
That's right. And all 5 of our listeners will know.
Behold the power of the podcast.
That's right. So after that, we pretty much went back to the resort, took it easy.
Did you see Disaster over at Universal Studios?
No, they didn't want to see Disaster, so... actually...
I'd insist upon it the next time you go over there.
Okay. Jumping back, speaking of disaster-type attractions, the first day we were there, on Tuesday, the first ride we went on in Universal Studios was the backlot tour, because the last 3 times we wanted to go, it either wasn't open or there was an hour and a half wait. So...
I'm confused.
Why?
At Universal Studios?
Oh, at the day we got...
at Hollywood Studios.
Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
What did I say?
You said Universal, and I was like, they don't have a backlot tour, Brad.
Okay.
Did you find a random ride?
Yes, I did.
Didn't